Hi, and welcome to Together, the podcast where we teach and guide you into the art and the practice of sacred relating so that you can experience more joy, pleasure, safety, and satisfaction in yourself and in your relationship. See, here in this podcast, in this community that you're now a part of, we are here and devoted to awakening to our highest ideal through the medium of relationship. So in today's episode, it's going to be a solo podcast. And for our regular listeners, I want to thank you for your patience. In the last few weeks, we've broken our regular rhythm of a podcast release every week for a couple of reasons. We had a virus run through our house is one reason. And then second, once we hopped back into the studio, we had some equipment malfunction and we were waiting for the parts to show up in the mail. Here we are. So glad to be back. God, I missed you guys so much. And I missed being able to deliver this content that is just so meaningful to me. So today's episode, we are going to be exploring why porn and substance is ruining all your relationships. In this episode, you're going to learn why porn and substance is impacting yourself and your intimate partnership and preventing you from fully fulfilling your mission and your dharma. We're going to go into, and you're going to learn where the core root of this began, what's driving these coping strategies. And then lastly, we're going to go into what are some practical behaviors that we can replace that's going to replace these coping strategies and bring you into more helpful behaviors that are going to lead to more safety in all your relationships. And it's going to bring more life energy online for you so that you can fulfill your dharma, your purpose, what you're here to do. So this topic can be triggering. I just want to call this out right in the beginning. This can be a really triggering topic. It can stir up so much. It can trigger shame, insecurities, anger, frustration. And I just want to name that that's all welcome. This is a topic that is avoided by many people. It's not talked about very often. And it's one that really, from my lens, needs to be more in the forefront of, if these things aren't looked at, if they're not brought into the light, it really prevents us living the life that we're meant to live in, higher levels of maturity and health. If these coping strategies keep driving the bus, we prevent ourselves from having a maturing process and becoming adult. We end up unconsciously creating a bunch of hurt and harm in our relationships, and it doesn't feel good. What it does create is it ends up creating a hiding. I've seen this with so many men, and I've been there myself. When we have these impulses inside of us, like when we talk about, we'll start with porn. If me as a man, if I'm directing my energy towards pornography and masturbation, and instead of my intimate partnership with Courtney, my energy is going towards whatever I'm looking at or whatever I'm relating with in the pornography. Like, let's say it's porn magazines or porn videos. My energy, my sexual energy, my creative energy, my sacred potency of birthing something into the world, that's going into whatever it is that I'm looking at, or women, that is going to create impact. That's going to impact, if I were to be doing this, I would be impacting Courtney's felt sense of safety. I would be impacting her trust with how I direct my energy. When I look back, in my previous marriage, I did use pornography. And when I look back at that relationship and I look at that behavior, this coping strategy, it really prevented my partner and I from dropping into a more intimate, safe connection. Like we didn't get there. It was a more surface level relationship where, the intimate connection felt good. The actions were good. There was lots of play and fun, but the safety, that deeper revealing of each other just didn't happen. And I'd say on my part to own in that would be that I was relating with pornography and substances, both of those things. And the reason this impacts and messes up our relationships is if we're doing those things, and this is where things can get triggering. And I just want to name, I have zero judgment in me around these behaviors. I've done these behaviors. So my invitation here is please don't get lost into the shame spiral of like, oh no, I'm such a bad person. I would encourage to let yourself feel the healthy hit of shame, which is not that you're a bad person, but more, oh yeah, I am impacting my relationships. That's like the healthy hit of shame. That's why we have shame, is to feel embarrassed and shy that how we're showing up is impacting other people. It's helpful to feel that contraction so that we can feel that discomfort and be like, oh, I don't want to feel this. Oh, and then that brings us into the place where we can feel remorse for the other person of, well, oh God, I don't want you to feel that. And then we'll renegotiate inside of ourselves the relational behaviors that we're contributing. And then hopefully mature there, like, oh, next time relating, I want to communicate in this way. Wow, that person's safety matters. Oh, whoa, when I do this thing, wow, that really doesn't feel good for that person. What would feel good is this. Oh, I want to evolve into that part of me that can offer that. So this is where shame can be helpful. Where it's not helpful is if we go into what's called a shame spiral, and this is where it's so uncomfortable to be seen in what we're doing and want to hide or just beat the shit out of ourselves. That's not helpful. So just wanted to bring that in before I go into this a little more boldly and directly, because it wouldn't be helpful if you just drop into thinking you're a terrible person. So lots of compassion, lots of gentleness here. There's a reason this is a tender topic. Is it can create a lot of reactivity and almost feed the unhelpful behavior even more, because the whole thing, just to highlight, and the point of this whole conversation is the porn and the substances are helpful coping strategies and agents to self-soothe, because there's something deeper down going on that is scary. And so these strategies have been in place and helpful. What I'm inviting is, let's get to the root of why they're there and heal those parts, and then move towards the more adult behaviors that is actually going to lead to stronger sense of leadership and safety, and a deeper felt sense of trust and intimacy and connection and sweetness with your intimate partner. That's going to feel so good inside. This, what I have found, creates confidence and a sense of fulfillment of like, wow, I can contain my energy and direct it in a way that's really safe and helpful and useful for humanity in my intimate partnership. That feels so good. Okay. Now that I've laid that out, and the reason I'm doing this, I just want to name, is lots of care and gentleness as we explore these coping strategies that have been helpful. So porn and substances, from the men that I've witnessed, worked with in my own journey, I have discovered that when we did not get emotionally met in the way that we really needed growing up, our nervous system will develop some sort of impulse to try to find something to compensate for the neglect, for the emotional hurt of not being attuned with, not being met. If our needs aren't getting met, we will evolve into something that will help us feel good, help us soothe. And when I look back in my journey, as an example, I discovered pornography when I was 7 or 8. And, my best friend at the time and I discovered, his father's treasure trove of pornography in a trunk. And his father didn't live with him, but there was this possession of his father, and it was just tons and tons of pornography. And at 7 and 8, it seemed pretty exciting. It's something, I'd never seen anything like it before. Just the name sex wasn't really a topic that was talked about in our household. It wasn't something I really witnessed or heard about. So it was confusing, because it is very healthy and natural to talk about sex and orient around this really big part of us being human. Like, we're meant to procreate, and then, there's so much power in that. Like, whoa, it can create human life, and that same creative energy is meant to be birthed into, products and services, and, a mission that's meaningful into the world. That's from these centers, these sexual centers. It's a healthy energy that we all have. But the unfortunate thing is there's a lot of households that feel so much shame around it, and there's lots of shaming about it, of we don't go there, we don't look at that. And that was, a bit of the environment I was in growing up. So when me as a little boy, discovered this content, I was like, wow, it invoked so much. It invoked all this feeling, this primal part of me, even at that age. And it started to turn into impulses. And it turned into masturbation, and it turned into like looking at this content and invoking a feeling in me wanting to feel good and to feel connected. And so I just followed that primal energy, and so it led to me masturbating to pornography at 7 and 8. It's like, when we look at that developmentally, that isn't appropriate. That is a dysfunctional thing, and that's a byproduct of when I look back at that time, and this is this is so important. This is, no judgment around my parents, just the nature of my journey as a little human, being adopted twice in the first year of my life, being a sensitive human, and, my parents having their own challenges of raising two adopted children, three children total, one they're biological. There were a lot of stressors in the field. So just the reality of it is it led to less emotional availability. There were struggles around finances and all these things, which I'm sure all of you can relate to and your parents could relate to. Culturally, that's a normal story. It's like parents are just trying their best, and kids feel like misattuned with or far away or lost. And so not having that emotional connection and those needs being met kind of led to these impulses of like, I want to feel good. I want to feel some sort of connection. And what I found when I look back at that time in my life, it felt good. It invoked energy in my body, and that felt better than feeling invisible, than feeling lost and insecure. And so that's where my coping strategy started. And then it turned into a habit, turned into a behavior. Because if we start doing something that feels good and it helps us dissolve the part that doesn't feel good, well, now over a period of time, like if this happens over a few weeks, that's now turned into a habit. And if that habit goes on for a few more months, and then maybe even a few more years, we now have a trait. We now have a human trait, a behavioral trait. And for me, I created that behavioral trait. From that age on, I related with pornography. And it was a way for me to get some sort of need met, which is to feel good, to feel my life energy, to feel my sexual potency, to feel pleasure. It was instant gratification. So anytime that I didn't feel good relationally or, while trying to pursue a career and just stumbling around in it, it was a way to soothe myself. And so when we look at where these behaviors start, like in my story here as an example, wow, that's, what's the harm in that? There wasn't really harm. Like there was harm, but there was no like direct harsh impacts on anyone else other than they didn't get the full experience of me as Mike feeling emotionally met. Like they didn't get the best versions of me. They got a part of me that was struggling, and then using this coping strategy to kind of, to try and just get along, like what's the word I'm looking for here? To just be okay with where I was at, trying to parent myself. But as an adult, as I started to be in intimate partnerships, as a teenager, my first girlfriends, and, going into the dating world, now the impact starts to show up. Because what I've trained myself to do is get instant pleasure and satisfaction in a way that I have control over. It's like whenever I want to feel that way, I can just pull up a video or look at a magazine and I just get my need met. What that kind of creates is a bit of narcissism, because if that doesn't come from partner, now relating with a human being who has to feel safe and has to feel really met emotionally for them to want to open and offer those things. And I'm talking about a man's experience here, obviously. Relationally, there's a whole different ballgame there in order to get to that place of being sexually intimate and experience that kind of pleasure. Like sexual energy is very sacred terrain, and it deserves respect and care. But what I notice is when I look back, it almost, because of that coping strategy of self-soothing that was dysfunctional. It led to, once I started to mature a bit more, grow up more, this was immature, excuse me. But when I would be in these partnerships and attract these incredible women, I felt so insecure inside because I could feel in my body I didn't have all the ingredients to confidently satisfy them and really get to know all the things that they're needing to open and blossom. And I would just like, hey, like, especially at these younger years and teenage years, I'm like, I just wanted to have sex all the time. And then that wasn't always their experience. And then that would bring up that feeling, and this is an important piece. It would bring up the feeling that I didn't like feeling. And then guess what I do? Resort to the pornography because it's guaranteed there. And so it stunted this part that was being invited to mature of what does a partner need to want to go into that terrain together. That is such an important part of the process that if we keep relating with the pornography, it prevents us from growing that part up and maturing and attuning to other. What does the other person need? Can I go through my own discomfort and learn how to soothe in more healthy, helpful ways and direct my energy towards that person and that partner? When I look back at being a teenager and an early, younger man, I couldn't sustain a long-term relationship. I would attract incredible women, like gorgeous, beautiful hearts, just incredible women. And about 3 to 4 months in, I'd wobble and freak out and then end it. And when I look at that, it's because of that underlying feeling of insecurity, lack of self-worth, the shame around me not knowing how to, in an adult way, meet my needs or invite experiences that would feel good for me in the relationships. And then so I would go into this place of just pulling the chute before they could end it with me, and which would lead to more of that feeling that the coping strategy that the porn was covering up. That was painful. Painful to not be able to sustain a long-term relationship. And I want to bring in substance here too, because substance for me came in around 13. It's 13 and I started smoking pot. And when I was smoking pot, I really used that substance to just feel good, in my body. When I look at pot as one of the examples, there's alcohol, and I notice there's different qualities, which will be another episode. I'll go into more depth on these. But alcohol and marijuana, marijuana specifically, I'd say for me was the replacement, the medicine to it is like replacing that soft, nurturing mother energy. Because every time I'd smoke it, it's like, I'd just melt. I'd feel good. There's no worries. I'm not thinking about anything adult responsibilities that I have to do tomorrow or next month or, within the year. It just was easy to just feel good in the now, man. Just, no worries. It felt so good. I felt safe in my body, but it was to replace and cover up what was actually in my body, which was anxiety and depression. Felt so anxious inside, terrified, my nervous system just on the fritz. When I look back at the frequency of masturbation and pornography and the use of it, and then now adding in, the substance of marijuana, is just like withering my soul. My social engagement system, my nervous system was just like tapped out in self-soothing coping strategies. And what I was deeply actually needing was safe and secure connection. It's co-regulation, that's where we develop and mature. So when we look at these coping strategies, the reason it prevents us from having really healthy, mature adult relationships is a part of us stays stunted. It stays young. It stays immature. It stays anxious. It stays in this state of distress. And it's just us numbing it out. If we just keep self-soothing and we don't learn how to develop the receivership of that from another person, well, then we just stay in the belief of separation and isolation and insecurities, and it feeds fear and anger and frustration and starts to bring in all these gnarly shadows of hiding and lying and sneaking around. Like it's because deep down we need connection. We're needing connection. When we look at this on the younger, in the younger phases of this, developmentally, we are meant to feel safe and provided for by like the masculine energy. I'll say it's not always dad, but just the masculine energy is in the household is supposed to create these banks and barriers for our soul to develop, for our nervous system to develop. Wow, we're held in this container, in this home. I'm held. I can be messy and vulnerable as I'm developing, and I'm okay. Then that feminine energy, which can come from dad too, but the softer feminine energy, we'll call it mama energy here, is meant to scoop up all the times that we're scared and freaking out and offer over reassurance and nurturing and tenderness and care. And if we get those while we're developing, we just do develop confidence, clarity in what our needs are, the capacity to ask for them, the availability to attune to other people's needs and want to meet them. But if that process is interrupted and we stop reaching for mom or that mothering energy, if we stop reaching for the place for us to just nestle in and feel held and okay, if we interrupt that, well, then our nervous system goes into kind of freeze and shut down, but then also just a deep anxiety. It's like it's frightening. It's like anxious it feeds the amygdala part of our brain. Like, oh God, I'm not safe. I'm not okay. This is why co-regulation is such a hot thing in the relational world now. Nervous system work, co-regulation. These are all hot words. In consciousness, in other podcasts, and the whole relational world, the attachment styles, like all these things are because we need connection as we're developing, and it needs to be safe, secure, attuned connection enough of the time for us to mature. If that process again is interrupted, we don't mature. Parts of us don't. Well, so we'll grow up and we can look like adults on the outside and we're doing adult things, but parts of us are really underdeveloped and just self-soothing in any ways that it learned how. In my world, it was pornography and marijuana and working out excessively. And for others, it's different. For others, it's coffee. For others, it's, polyamorous behavior, like can't stick in one relationship. Not to say polyamory is a bad thing. But there's some scenarios where it's used as a soothing agent of like can't commit to one place because it doesn't feel safe. There's too much angst. So it's like just surface connections with many people, just for the instant pleasure of it, instead of committing somewhere like long term. Not to say that's everyone's dharma, but just naming that piece. It can look like adrenaline, like this archetype of the adrenaline junkie, where they can't sit still and they're off on adventures all the time, and they just can't stay in one location. They're moving from job to job to job, and like traveling around the world, and they can't just hang out in one place. These are often soothing agents, coping strategies to avoid the discomfort of that place deep down. So the reason pornography and substances, these coping strategies impact the relationship is it makes us less emotionally available because we are relating with the pornography. We are relating and attaching and creating a bond to the substance. If we have an intimate partner, how it's in a healthy right order, that is the place we are meant to develop and practice the ingredients that develop a secure bond. In intimate partnership, we are meant, what's healthy and appropriate is co-regulating and deepening in intimacy with our intimate partner, our life partner. So for me, this is Courtney. If I develop safety with Courtney, if I bring my sexual energy to her, if I learn what helps her open and blossom, if I deeply understand who she is and what she needs, she will want more of me. If she wants more of me, that's going to feel really good for me, and I'm going to want to give it to her because that's our natural nature. The masculine wants to penetrate life. The feminine wants to receive that life force, that life energy. And in the dance of that together, both rise up and awaken. Like that's the ultimate. But that requires getting to really know and understand each other. If we learn that practice, when I learn this practice with Courtney, my energy, I want to direct it to her. I want to penetrate her with it. And I want to penetrate like my mission with all this creative energy. Would it be easier to follow impulses of instant gratification? Yeah, there's a part of me that's, the primal part of me that sometimes will see and be like, whoa, there's a charge there. Here's this thing that could be easier and could provide some sense of instant gratification. It's like eating a candy bar. It's like, whoa, that felt really good. It's like, it's just like a drug. But like most drugs, comes the crash, comes the, comes the big down. But cultivating mature qualities and bringing this into a relationship feels so good. It feels so fulfilling. When I notice any part of me or impulse that wants to go in any other direction, like that would want to grab some sort of soothing agent or a substance, that wants to doom scroll, that wants to look at pornography, and I'm like, whoa, there's that part. And then I guide it into the direction of my partnership with Courtney and bring that to her. Oh, does that ever feel good? That leads to feeling more confident, feeling more powerful, that I can contain, that I can guide that energy. And then that becomes more attractive because that's a palpable quality. Others will feel that. Even if they don't know what the behaviors are in the background, they'll feel that quality of, whoa, that guy can, he can guide his energy. He can contain it. It's going to be felt. It's going to feel safer. It's going to show in how I carry myself, because ultimately there's not a person that I've met so far who is still dancing and struggling with pornography and substance that do not harbor a lot of shame, internalized shame. Part of them that wants to hide about, like, not really have people know about that. That's felt. On the nervous system level, that's felt. If those parts are there, they're felt. And that's not bad or wrong. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's just helpful information of, right, the more that we can learn how to soothe in more mature ways, the more attractive we will be, the safer we will be to humanity and to the people that we're leading. That will lead into a deeper sense of fulfillment and pleasure and safety for me and for everyone else. So when we, again, touching this place of the coping strategies, the substance and the pornography are an attempt to replace mom and dad energy. as you were growing up, mom and dad energy wasn't exactly attuned in the way that you needed. They offered you so much that, like, if we're in our adult brain and we look at it, it's like, yeah, there's so much we can be grateful for. Can be grateful for the roof over our heads, for most households. This is just kind of throwing it out there. You may have had a really attuned childhood, and that's great. This conversation probably doesn't land for you then if you got a lot of your needs met and was attuned, because you would have matured and those coping strategies wouldn't come online. But for most of us, it's just mom and dad were trying to hold a lot, and they also gave a lot, but maybe just not enough when we're talking about at the soul level and just the depth of and the complexity of our emotional needs. When more and more, when I look at, in the work that I do in supporting clients, so much of my orientation is to help people connect back to their soul. This is a bit of a side tangent, but it's important. Is to connect people to their unique soul's expression. And the more I orient to that soul expression in another human, I realize there can't be just like a reference sheet of human needs. Every human is so unique in how they need to be attuned with, what's meaningful to them, what their deep down needs are. Like, every human is so different. Every human's gifts are so different. There can be places of similarity where it crosses over, but ultimately, we're all so different. We are like snowflakes. And the reason we want to grow up and mature in these places and let go of all these coping strategies is so that we can bring in the capacity to meet another human who's different and unique and complex. We are complex beings. This is why we have this podcast devoted to sacred relating, is we're complex. So guess what that requires is for us to wake up to our truth so that we can meet other people in their truth and learn what helps them feel better, what helps them feel more alive. Because when we're in relationship of reciprocity, both people win. It's important to repeat. When we're in a relationship of reciprocity, both people win, both people awaken, both people mature, both people get to grow up, both people get to heal really deep wounds, which we all carry. Every human has wounds. So this is no blame and shame on any parents, or this is just being a human being in the world at a time that we're in. That means we're all wounded. And this is us getting to learn more about the wounds that lead to the coping strategies so that we can bring in something more evolved and mature and developed so that we can be safer human beings. The safer and more integrated that we are, the more mature we become. We get to grow up. We get to go back and scoop up all those younger parts that way back there learned to do this thing to feel good. And we now get to show them, hey, whoa, I feel that, scoop up these younger parts and be like, hey, little Mike, when you were 7 and you found that trunk, what you really wanted was hugs and cuddles and, guidance. Oh yeah, man. Here, and I get to scoop up and learn that little part and learn how to guide them in a way that's more healthy and helpful and be like, hey, that wasn't, if I were to go back and be the dad, I would go back and be like, Mike, that isn't appropriate. Oh, you're needing connection. And then I'd bring them in and I'd hold them and I'd help them feel safe and secure. And then you wouldn't want to go towards that thing and guide them towards something more enjoyable and appropriate to that age. And we'd connect there. And, in my deeper work, I'll name that's kind of the process, bringing in the more helpful, mature ingredients so that the coping strategy just dissolves. That's a beautiful segue, because the thing we want to do is, once we recognize here, okay, this is why it's not helpful, is if we're relating with pornography and substance, we are not available emotionally for our partners or for the people in our life, or even for that parts of us, need the adult online to guide our energy in helpful grown-up ways. If we're engaging with substance and porn, we're just lost in immaturity. We're lost in some sort of soothing agent that isn't really leading to the evolution of humanity. It's feeding dysfunction. So if we look at that, that's why my relationships feel sticky and painful. It's because of that. Okay. Well, where does that come from? That's the next step, is where's the core root of it? Oh, right. Interruption, it being attuned with, and having our emotional needs met for us to naturally mature and grow up. Naturally land into the place of knowing boundaries, of knowing discernment, of knowing how to ask for our needs to be met and meet others in a confident, integrated way. Okay, so that's the core of it. Then when we get to the core of it, we're like, great, well, I want to do something different. What's the different? Because those impulses that are self-soothing now need to have some sort of soothing agent that's more grown up. And this is what we want to bridge into. If we look at pornography and substance as being a replacement to mothering and fathering qualities, well, that already gives us the information that those parts of us, when triggered, because I from the people that I know in my world, from when I was relating with porn and substance, it wasn't like all the time. It's just there were certain ingredients and situations that would trigger it, and then the impulse would be that thing. So we need to track and get to know where the impulses are, and that energy still needs to be met with something. Where I see a lot of unhelpful qualities in the recovery world, like if we're talking about, let's say these are actual addictions, what I'd say isn't that helpful is just trying to get rid of the behavior, like just stop it or shove it in a box. It just ends up creating relapses and bigger blowouts and more hiding. But if we get to the core root of, inner child work, when we get into the root of the wound and bring in mothering and fathering qualities, what I have found in the work that I do with clients is if those qualities come in, wow, it actually softens the impulse, because, I can turn towards a human when I'm feeling scared and frightened. And, I can feel soothed there relationally. That feels so good. And then next time, the person goes towards, next time that little impulse comes up, instead of reaching and doing the thing, that person goes and moves towards and tells me, the person in the relationship, God, part of me wanted to do this. But I didn't do that. And it starts to feel good to be met and received and celebrated in the new thing, which is turning towards connection, turning towards reassurance, turning towards, hey, I'm here. I've got you. We need that. So the replacement to some of these coping strategies is recognizing I need connection. Where's the connection that's safe? And if you're listening to this and this is something you struggle with, I'd get curious about, where can you go? What relationship can you develop? Is it with a therapist, a coach, someone in your life currently? A men's group? I highly encourage men's circles. Where can you go to feel safe to start to expose some of these things if you're not transparent about them and talking about them? That's like step one, is bring it into the light. Step two is then get met relationally. Start to unpack some of these places. Start to share where that started. Where did this coping strategy start? Share about that. Be held in that. Be loved in that. Preferably somebody who has experience and understands that process. And get those needs met, because those parts that didn't develop still need to develop. And that's only going to happen through connection. It's only going to happen through the felt sense of safety. When we get that our nervous system will kick back online, that healthy blueprint that lives inside of us. And when we look at the personal development world and this idea of the healers inside of you, it is. We still need to be met relationally to wake it up. But when we are co-regulated with, when we're around a regulated nervous system, somebody who's integrated some of these learning lessons, our nervous system can feel held in that, and then our nervous system will start to grow up and develop. And then instead of having to push the coping strategy into a box and get rid of it, we've actually just developed into a new impulse, and that is turning towards connection, which actually feels way better, less shame. And then the shame just starts to melt away and dissolve when you're actually just experiencing what the deep need was always: connection. Just going to take a big breath. This has been a lot so far. So more of the ingredients we want to bring in that replace the impulse to the part that feeds the groove of shame and insecurity and just not feeling so great. So we want to direct our energy towards our partner. So if you're in partnership, when the impulse is there, it's bring the impulse and teach it to move towards your partner and lead with vulnerability. What's the feeling deep down? Can you feel it? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling insecure? Great. Take that to your partner, lead with that vulnerability, and expose what is actually going on in your body. The easier route that you learned, the habit and the behavior, is go towards the thing that is instant gratification, but now we're growing that part up and we're bringing it to connection. The thing that's so cool about this, and I get to watch this experience with clients, is once they start to move towards their partner and be vulnerable, they get to experience parts of their partner they haven't even met yet. They've been so lost in the story that it's not healthy or not appropriate to go get met and reassurance and safety from their partner. And so they go to the coping strategy. That's the deep-rooted part, is I can't get connection in a way that I need it. So here are these things that feel better right now. But whoa, when these parts start to turn towards the intimate partner and say, hey, can you hold me? I'm feeling scared. Hey, I'm feeling insecure. Can you give me some sort of like validation or reassurance? What ingredients end up coming from the partner are so beautiful. It leads to such deep healing because that person gets to learn, oh my God, what I've been needing deep down that has always been right here. Or, wow, this part of me, this person can love, because whether conscious of it or not, a lot of people inside are not loving that part of them. But when it's brought to connection and it's revealed, this is where I call it the reveal to heal. When we reveal these parts of ourselves into a relationship that actually can meet us, whoa, we get met. And we get loved in the place that we're so afraid of, wanting to numb out. And then that's going to feel really good. And then it's teaching the nervous system, whoa, when I have these impulses, it's directed to my connection. It's to direct it to my partner. So when I look at my life now, when I feel sexual energy, I direct that to Courtney. And then if it's in a place that maybe isn't in the moment willing to receive that, or in the place, I then get to direct that energy in the more mature mission of, wow, how can I create an environment of safety and juiciness and praise and pleasure for that to be wanted on the other side also? What ingredients can I bring to allow this energy to be expressed and received and together experienced? That's the so much more fulfilling in the big picture than the instant gratification and instant hit. Because the instant hit is like, ugh. And then did that lead to meeting my partner any deeper? Did it lead to me practicing and embodying some sort of new quality in myself that was received? Or, if it's not, then I'm not going to feel more empowered and confident. I'm just going to keep feeding that root of shame if I go towards the impulse. But as I do this with Courtney, each time I learn a new ingredient, I learn a new place. And this is about waking up to the truth too. Sometimes what I direct isn't attuned or isn't the right thing, and then I get to feel my disappointment, but at least that's more mature. That's of course, as an adult, we are not always going to get what we want and need. And this is where so often these agents of pornography and substance, the reason they're impacting our relationship is they're preventing us from actually receiving the felt sense of being an adult, which is we're not always going to get everything we want and everything that we need when we want it. Those are narcissistic traits. So if we're getting that in a certain way, we're feeding that part of us that isn't going to be able to attune to other. But the gift of waking up to the truth is, and this is, this whole path and journey that I'm describing isn't for the faint of heart, because it means feeling really uncomfortable sensations and feelings and touching insecurities and all the things, but it leads to feeling more empowered and charged up. More life energy comes online because, if the ingredients I'm offering this relationship don't lead to more connection, what am I offering? I get to look at that. I get to cultivate more maturity there. I get to be curious of how to meet the person I'm relating with, Courtney in this example. The more I get to learn, in what way? And, even just in day-to-day relating, gentleness, eye contact, reassuring statements, me getting to a deeper understanding of her as a person, as a being, feels so empowering for me. If I get to keep experiencing that level of fulfillment of achieving those qualities is going to prevent any impulse of doing the instant gratification, because that's long lasting. That's something that trickles out through my whole day, throughout my whole week. As I get to grow up and mature as a man, I get to meet my clients in deeper ways, and I get to receive reflections of how they're changing and shifting and feeling met in ways that they never have before. That's fulfilling on a soul level, because we're relational beings. I guarantee every single one of you listening wants to provide a lot to others, wants to provide a lot to humanity, that wants to have a deeper felt sense of your purpose here. Like, you being you, what are the gifts and the unique qualities that you have relationally that are offered? When those are received, guess what? You just found your purpose. If you have this power inside of you and you deliver it and it's received, that will feel so good, and it will invoke and initiate in you the desire to do it even more. Purpose. If we find something deeply meaningful to devote our life to, and we keep bringing it and keep refining it and deepening the skills, and it feels so good. It feels so good. So directing your energy towards your partner, recognizing where the impulse comes up and directing it to your partner, recognizing where those impulses come up and direct it towards something. This is the next piece. Direct it towards something that you would feel proud of doing. What's the new behavior that you've been wanting to do but not doing, and that's been triggering shame? What's that thing? If you can start to direct that energy when you feel the impulse to that new thing, is it working out? Is it some new nutrition adjustment in your diet? Is it cutting out sugar and bringing in more broccoli or veggies? Is it being out in nature more and going for more adventures? Is it, repairing with with a friend? Is it reading a book that's, is it taking a step towards your business? What is the thing you've been avoiding? Because often these coping strategies that are instant gratification are a way, unconscious often, those impulses are preventing us from doing the more adult thing that will actually bring us into the place where we feel where we feel and can see our progress, and where we're changing. That feels so good. It feels so good. It'll feel even better than the instant gratification because it's long lasting. It's not like, well, now I feel like shit. Why did I do that? Instead, it'll be like, I did the thing. I did the thing that I've been wanting to do for 10 years. Oh, it feels so good. And I've had so many moments of this. Once I dropped the porn and the substance, I get to watch myself even doing this. For over a decade, I bought camera gear and microphones, and I wanted to do the thing, and I wanted to, do what I love to do. And it's obviously talk and share and what's alive in my heart, and guide and, support other people so that they can grow and transform. That's what I love doing. And I wanted to do it, but I kept resorting to the substance. I kept, smoking pot every day and watching movies and engaging with pornography. You know what it led to? My wife leaving, to me being super depressed and stuck in a town called Fort McMurray for 13 years, just like wanting to birth my mission, but I couldn't because all my life energy was going towards the numbing agents. But now I actually get to look around in my studio and see all the camera gear and the microphones being used. I'm actually using them because I've learned how to direct my energy in a way that's grown up. That I've had to go through so many uncomfortable moments and learning and going on YouTube and learning about how things go together, and me getting more confidence and practicing speaking in public places so that I could share what wanted to come from my heart for others to receive and be received in it. But it's easier now because I don't have all this inner bandwidth and shame and demons beating me up around the behaviors that aren't healthy. I've learned to direct that energy in new ways, and I feel inspired. I get to receive reflections where I'm inspiring, and that keeps me going. That keeps me wanting to mature all the places that are still, like I still have tons of undeveloped parts, but I'm now in the practice and the process of maturing as a man and growing up and taking responsibility for my behaviors that are just soothing agents, that are little boy parts that just want comfort and to feel okay. And I bring them to more adult places, which is partnership, my support, my therapist, my coaches, my inner circle of people that can hold me in the vulnerable places. And then I mature and grow up because I'm received. And then I get to bring that inspired action that wants to birth through me to the people that I'm here to serve. That is purpose. That is mission. That feels so good. You want to talk about happiness. Satisfying and meeting your partner emotionally most of the time, getting the experience of being able to slow down impulse, not do the thing that feeds the shame, and move it towards an action that is a dream realizing one step at a time. So good. And developing relationships that are resonant, that feel good, where there's so much reciprocity. Getting to serve people in the way that your unique expression of being who you are, having that received. I'm telling you, if you've got those, happiness, satisfaction, pleasure, safety, the deep felt sense of belonging, you won't need the soothing agents, because being alive, being you, being an adult will just feel so good. You fulfilling your dream and your dharma will just feel so good. You'll feel empowered. You feel strong, and just, you'll feel good. And that is a way to mature through the process. And this has been a long journey. The reason, again, to hit another point here, those coping strategies aren't working for you anymore. And I learned this term from one of my mentors, Terry Real. It's a losing strategy. Pornography and substances are a losing strategy. They're not bringing you to what you're actually needing deep down, and it's human connection, it's safety, it's reciprocity for you to grow up and mature those parts. If you learn the root of where they came from and start to move towards places that they can be met, life starts to feel really good, because you come out of the numbness, you come out of it's like the little blip in the nervous system. It's like the glitch, if you have a Mac computer, it's like when that little just spiraling rainbow thing just starts circling and circling and circling, and it doesn't go to the next step. You can't click on the next program, and it's frustrating because you can't do the task you're trying to do in the computer. It's like that. If we have coping strategies, also called losing strategies, as an adult, they're a losing strategy. If we have those playing out, we've just got that spinning wheel and we can't do the next adult step, and it's like, it's frustrating. Can't deliver your presentation to life. You can't feel the goodness of completing it. So if we now turn it towards and learn how, this is a process, learning who to take it to, learning what new behaviors want to come online. Is it practicing this? Is it sharing content with people? Open up, a social media platform and start sharing. Is it, go on YouTube and, what's the truth that's wanting to come through you? Can you start bringing that energy and directing it toward those things so that you can feel the soothing of being you and bringing your gifts to the world? Can you bring the impulse towards the things that your soul is inviting you to bring into the world so you can feel the soothing of being you and bringing your gifts to the world? That's ultimately it. That's what you're being invited into. That is the initiation life is inviting you into, is to grow these parts up and guide them into the new behavior that is in service to everyone. Your partner will be more attracted to you. You will draw in clients that are just dream clients and ideal. Your new product that wants to be birthed into the world will show up because you'll feel so much satisfaction and fulfillment for being able to do the new thing, the new behavior. All this creative life energy, going back down to those sexual centers, all that creative energy will want to penetrate in ways that it's always been meant to be penetrated into. We're all here, this is my belief, we are all here to bring our unique gifts into the world. And when we do, everyone wins. Everyone feels good. Well, I shouldn't say everyone. It's going to trigger people, but the people you're meant to serve by you being you, it'll feel so good. And the ones that are all triggered, you're medicine to them because there's something they're projecting onto you that's touching up their material that they're probably then numbing out and self-pleasuring around. And so I really encourage you to let all of this land. This has been a lot. What out of what I shared here touched something in you? What part of this did you need to hear? And my invitation for you is to let yourself feel in your body what came up. What were the moments of this conversation that your belly contracted, or that impulse came online, or you maybe went into shame spiral? Or what are the moments where all of a sudden you started to feel a little fire in your belly, felt inspired? What about it? What in this was something you needed to hear to initiate you into the next step of growing some of these parts up so that you can actually meet your partner in the way that you want, so that you get to feel empowered and confident in your role in the connection? Where is there a place where you got a little golden nugget that's going to bring you closer to your dharma and your purpose in a way that's more mature, more aligned? And let yourself be with that. Give yourself some space and time. What are the new things that you could move towards that would help you feel so good? What are the connections you can start moving towards and developing that's going to bring in the soothing in a way that's satisfying? that's grown up. I want to thank you for being, if this was uncomfortable for you, I want to thank you for still being with it and joining me till the end. This for me is a topic that I'm so passionate about, because substances, I've done so many different kinds of drugs and I have so inappropriately related with my sexual energy when it comes to pornography anyways. And I have felt so much shame about all of that. But when I've gotten to the root of why all of that even came online, it's brought in so much grief, but also compassion and gentleness and warmth within myself around all of that, that's led to me just going towards the actions and the steps that just are so empowering, that just feel so good, that feel helpful for humanity. And from this place, and again, I said there's more layers to work with. I'm not some perfectly enlightened human that has it all figured out, but there's always other places to work on. And the amount of coping strategies that I've overcome that have been numbing agents and self-soothing because I was afraid of connection, not having those online anymore has created a whole new reality of life. No depression, very little anxiety. Every once in a while, it comes in when it's more the excitement towards a project that I'm birthing, and then I have to slow down and breathe and ground to the excitement. It's a different relationship to anxiety. It's not an anxiety of I'm not good enough, or it's like, oh, there's so much life energy that wants to come in and move out into the world. It's getting to have these new tools in place. It's the ultimate freedom. It's emotional freedom. And I want that for any of you listening to this. So thanks for tuning in. And as we're closing, I'm excited to announce, I think this is the first time me announcing it on the podcast, is I've been in the background working on an offering called The Initiated Man. It's going to be an online men's community where, if there are any of these areas you've been struggling or just needing support in, I am birthing an online men's community where you'll get direct support with me on online calls, on Zoom. You'll get the experience of developing healthy brotherhood with other men that are in similar places, where we all get to build each other up. That has been one of the most valuable ingredients in my life. When I look at where I was, addicted to drugs and just not bringing, my dreams to the world, lost in Fort McMurray, working in the oil industry, just like selling my soul to the devil, to where I live now, nestled in the side of the mountains, doing, my dream work, having beautiful, close connections where I feel like I'd say probably for the first time in my long journey of life, a deep felt sense of belonging has been a byproduct of so many things. Like, if I were to put in credits for everything that has allowed me to land here, it would be a long list. But the one that I want to highlight here is men's work. Been a part of men's circles for 10 years now. And it has been one of the most helpful, consistent resources in my life that has initiated me into becoming a man. And my intimate partnership. Like, those are the two biggest ingredients that has helped me. And then my supports, the therapist. I want to list all of them, books, all the things. But those two really deserve stage presence. Those have initiated me so many times, time and time again, into becoming more man. And I've just been getting so many hits and downloads of, Mike, create this for other men. So the Initiated Man online men's community is, the doors are open for the wait list. Not going to be launching for a little bit. It's not going to be launching for another few months, unless things all just fall into place a lot quicker. But I am in the stage of building the wait list. So if you've been listening to this episode, if you've been listening to the podcast, and there's something inside of you that's been wanting the next level, that's been looking for brotherhood, that's been looking for mentorship, then this is going to be the thing for you. It has completely changed my life, building brotherhood over time with other men. And I really want to make that more accessible with direct spot coaching, with direct guidance, to help you with exactly where you're at. So if you're interested, scroll down in the show notes. There's going to be a link there for the wait list of the Initiated men's community. Thank you all so much for tuning into this episode. And please let me know. I love to hear what this invoked, what you were inspired by, what new insight did you have? If you go down in the show notes, there's my email there. If you can hit me up on social media, shoot me a message. Let me know. Let me know what came up for you. And if this gave you value in some sort of way, or the previous episodes have, my ask for you, so that this podcast can reach other men and other couples, please give this a 5-star rating. That would be so meaningful to me, so helpful for this message to spread.